So good afternoon, everyone. Those of you that are in the health and well-being slot already knows me, but anyway, I'm Alberto, and I will be here for the next couple of theoretical lectures, mainly about visual design and evaluation. Today we start this new topic about visual design and a bit of navigation, but it's mostly about visual design. And some of these things, the topics that we will see today and next Monday, are already useful for low fidelity prototyping, so it's something that you can already try to apply on your prototypes. There are also other aspects that instead will be useful for high fidelity prototyping, like colors and stuff like that. Okay, so keep in mind this. And to start the usual exercise, Hall of Fame or Hall of Shame. What is this? The Apple Watch, right? So it's the, I would say, standard interface, at least for some years, for the Apple Watch. Now there is another version also, but we will see it in a moment. How does it work? You need to touch icons, of course. Why there are some icons that are bigger than others? How can you move in the menu? You can scroll or use the button to rotate the button to go up and down. And what's the paradigm? What happens when I scroll, for example? You can see the icons again, but there is an important feature. What happens when, for example, I scroll up and down? Exactly. The dimension, the size of the icons change, and the icons that are in the middle becomes bigger, right? So let's criticize this design. What are the pros, what are the cons, in your opinion? How can you find your application, according to your colleague? Why?
Because there is no order.
There is no order, okay?
At least apparently.
Mm-hmm. So you really need to remember the icon of your application, right? So if you need to open the, I don't know, the browser, that's quite easy, right? There is the icon of the browser in the center, and it's quite easy. But what about opening the Reminder app, for example? Can you spot where the Reminder app is?
And if they change the icon in the updates, whatever, you forget the previous.
Exactly. This is a very big problem. If they decide to change the icon, maybe because of an update, then there is a problem because there is no name of the applications, and that could be a problem. Anyway, the Reminder icon is the one very little at the bottom of the screen, okay? Is there any advantages on this menu? I mean, it's by Apple, so it's probably not terrible. Yes?
The small icons can show you, like, can help you to remember where each application was, like, because of the color.
Because of the color, you can remember where an application is.
Like
Mentally, okay. Yeah, it could be.
You can scroll very fast between many applications.
You can scroll very fast between many applications. That's true. I mean, there are a lot of applications in this page, and if you are able to recognize your app, maybe in the main page, you can directly click on it, and it's quite fast. In fact, this is a circular menu, and it is demonstrated by the Fitts law that you probably have already seen in one of the past lectures, that circular menus are typically faster than linear menus, right? Especially if you can find your application, if you remember correctly the icon of your application, it's typically faster. And also there is another advantage. There is consistency, of course, with the icons on the phone. Okay, so this of course helps in recognizing the icons. Anyway, there are also disadvantages, as you correctly noted. So there is this size of the images that is changing, and this could create some confusion. It's difficult to search if you do not remember the icon. And some icons are very small, and you need, of course, to scroll in that case. So, given the disadvantages, Apple added a second version of this menu. So if you right now have an Apple Watch, you also have the possibility to use the linear menu. And this is probably more straightforward to use. There is the icon, but there is also the label, so you are not requested to remember the icon of the application. It's a linear menu, so it's alphabetically ordered. But of course, if you need an application at the end of the menu, it's probably, you need to scroll the entire list before being able to click. So there are advantages and disadvantages, but there is this possibility to select the interface. So they are giving the user the power to use the menu they want. Okay, so that's definitely an advantage. Okay, cool. So let's talk about visual design. So aesthetic for helping users in understanding and also navigating the user interface. And visual design is mostly related to three different things. So guiding. So guiding means conveying structure, relative importance, relationships. So your user interface should guide the user in accomplishing the tasks. Okay. So for example, in the circular menu, what's the main icon? What's the most important application according to the designer in this Apple Watch? The clock, okay? Because it's bigger, it's in the center, so the app is the interface is guiding you in knowing that the clock is the most important application in this interface. Then there is pacing, so drawing people into your app, orienting them, and showing where to go. Okay, so it should be clear while using the app where to go to, for example, look for a specific information. And then there is also messaging, so expressing meaning and style. So it's more about aesthetic and identity of the user interface. And of course, making everything look aesthetically beautiful, it's good, but it's not the main goal of design, at least for us. So it's better to have a terrible user interface in terms of aesthetic, but very useful and usable, than the opposite, of course. So you can have a very beautiful interface, but then if you cannot use it, it's useless. So let's start with the basics. Of course, artistic skills can help, but we are not artists, and we are not expected to be artists. Also because real design skills take years to master. So we will see a set of guidelines, heuristics, as a good and easy start to start designing our user interface. again, let's start with the basics. And we will see that one of the main ingredients of visual design is text. Okay, so I will show you a text for 5 seconds, and you should tell me what the text is about. Okay, let's do this trial. Okay, this is the text. Okay, what's the text about? Basic visual, yes, that's for sure. Text, colors, and fonts. Okay. Any other? Okay, so some of you got a very generic overview of the text. Some of you was able to identify some keywords maybe. What about this version? Is it better? What's the difference with respect to the previous version? The alignment, yes, but also the spacing, right? There is some space between different sentences. And this, of course, helps in identifying the important information in the text. So spacing is really important. That's true for the text, but also for, but not only, also for other kind of elements that you can put on your interface. And what about this? What's the change here? There are titles, so there is a hierarchy of contents, right? So we are distinguishing between important information and descriptive text. So now it should be really clear that this text is about text, layout, and colors. And we can do even better. What about this? There is spacing, there are titles, there are bullets. And what is one of the differences between this version and this? Exactly. There is less text, okay? And that's important. We will stress this multiple times. Try to reduce the amount of text you are using in your prototypes, because this helps to focus on the content. Because how much do you think people read on the web? Nothing, okay? So people know the task, know what they are looking for, so they scan the interface looking for some keywords, but they don't read at all your content, okay? So that's why you should really try to organize the text, use hierarchy titles, and reduce the amount of text. Another preview of one of the basics of visual design is about the layout and the structure of the page. This gives us the possibility to recognize a given application, and it's really important for the familiarity design principles, so something that you have already seen in, I think, the design principles, right? So consistency. So look at this page structure. There is no content, it's removed, but which kind of website is this, in your opinion? News? Everyone agree? Yeah, this is the CNN website, so it's news. So even without reading the content, you are able to recognize it. So this is building on standard, consistency, familiarity. So if you want to create a news website, you should probably try to follow this structure. What about this? Google, let's try to abstract a bit. A search engine. Indeed, it's Google, but it's similar to other search engines as well. What about this? A bit more difficult. Someone says Wikipedia.
It's a mail app.
Sorry?
Mail.
Mail? Yeah, it's more like a forum. Okay. Indeed, it's Stack Overflow. So questions and answering, a forum. Okay. And what about this?
A reviewer.
Review website? What do you mean with review website? Okay, there is the possibility to give some review, okay? Shopping website.
Comparison.
There is some comparison, that's for sure. So there are reviews, but what's the domain here?
Buying something.
Booking, restaurants? Yes, indeed it's TripAdvisor, okay? So there is this very important concept of recognizable page structure. So we will see some guidelines on alignment, for example, in order to structure the layout of our page, in order that your users will be able to understand what the interface is about, even without being able to read the content, like probably in this case. We cannot probably read the content unless there is some Chinese people here, but we know that this is, again, a news website. And in recreating these layouts, we will see that there are a lot of conventions that helps users recognize the structure. So we know, for example, that on a website, the navigation bar is probably always on the top of the page. So that's a convention. So we are used to find that element in that position in, I would say, every website. And then we know that on a website there is probably a footer, and header, and stuff like that. So conventions again. These are the 3 ingredients of visual designs we will see today and next Monday. Text, layout, and colors. And then for each of these ingredients, you can, of course, focus in on white space, fonts, alignment for the text. Then layout typically means grid layouts, especially in the web domain. And then colors, we will see some details on how to select colors for our prototypes, and we will explore a bit the concept of palettes. Anyway, most of these ingredients and some of the principles we will see are inspired by these Gestalt principles that are hints from psychology that tells us, in a way, how our brain works and how we as designers should satisfy this kind of behavioral hints. So these are laws from 1920s, and designers, again, can use this kind of hints to engage users via some tricks that can produce better designs. So these are some Gestalt principles. There are a lot of principles. We will see just some examples. For example, figure ground, we look for solid, stable items, and foreground elements, so elements in the foreground catches our attention first. That seems obvious, but it can inspire us in positioning the important elements in the right part of the interface. Or, for example, common region. We group elements that are in the same closed region, and we will see some examples. So let's see some visual examples, starting again from figure ground. So we look for solid, stable items. What catches your eyes first in this image, for example? This one.
The cloud with the stuff inside.
You mean this one?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you all agree on this? Yes, probably. Because it seems on top, right? There is also a bit of shadow here. So then it's green, it's a different color, but more importantly, it seems on top of this portion of the web page. So it's probably the element that catches our attention first. What about this? Here probably the title, right? So again, it's on top of the background image. It's white. We can recognize it. It's bigger. So it is probably our focal point. Indeed, one hint related to the first one is the focal point. So the focal point is the point in the interface where you get the attention of the user first. So it's connected with the previous principle. It's something that we want the user to focus in. For example, the only red thing in this image is probably the focal point here, okay? Yes, there is the title, but I think that using this kind of different color can be considered the focal point of this image, because it's different from the rest of the page. Then another example of a Gestalt principle, common region. So we tend to group elements that are in the same closed region. So we tend to consider this text related to this image because they are quite close, and we try to look to the common region. A related concept, proximity. So we group closer together elements, separating them from those that farther apart. So we can clearly distinguish that this label is related to this image, and we can distinguish these two elements from other elements, other images and labels. Okay. Another related concept, similarity. So, sorry. We seek differences and similarities in an image and link similar elements. So we tend to link together similar elements in the interface. So what are the elements on this interface that are similar, that can be associated to the same group of elements, in your opinion? The input boxes, okay? I would say not only the input boxes. The buttons in the navbar, yes. Okay, but let's, sorry?
Green color for sign.
The button?
I mean, they follow the same color, the top and the bottom.
Okay, but let's focus again on the input boxes. Okay, we can group them together, but we can probably also consider the button as part of this group, right? Because in a way, we know that 3 input boxes with a button is probably a form, okay? So even if there is no boxes that surround the 4 elements in this case, we can easily recognize that these 4 elements are closely related and form a form, okay? Let's focus on this website. What is the most important news in this web page? The first one, okay? And then are there any groups of news that we can try to link together? The side ones, yes, because they are blue, okay? So we know that this news will have probably some characteristics that honestly I don't remember, but the blue background probably means something. But there is another group that we can recognize here. These 3, right? Because they talk about the same things, and most importantly, in terms of layout, they are below the main news. So in a way, we know that these are some additional news related to the most important one, okay? So again, there is no box here, but we can easily recognize that they are part of the same group. Another example, continuation. We follow and flow with lines, and this means in terms of visual design that we tend to follow the items that are visualized in the interface. So for example, what happens if I click here on the arrow? Okay, so the items will probably shift, right? So, but how many new elements will I see? Someone says 5, someone says 1. It depends. For sure, I will not see probably 10 new items. So it's important to be, of course, consistent. And for sure, I expect to see others' books, right? So what happens if I don't see books, but I see, I don't know, TVs or computers? This will create confusion, right? Because there is this sense of continuity that I expect to find in the interface. And the last one, closure. So we automatically try to fill in gaps to perceive a complete image. Here there are some examples like the logo of IBM. This is not a B. This is a set of horizontal lines, but our brain perceives this as a B, and we can use this trick also for our user interfaces as well. Okay? Cool. So let's dig deeper on the first key ingredient of visual design, which is text, so typography in general, and the property of text. So this image summarizes all the different properties you can have on a text. So we can have, for example, the letter spacing, we can have the stroke, the descender, the ascender, and so on, okay? But it's not important to focus on the very specific properties of text right now. It's important to understand that, again, and this is probably the most common principle in design, we need to be consistent in the usage of text in our interfaces, okay? So you should use fonts consistently as all the other visual design stuff. And here there is an example. So Material Design by Google defined 13 styles for font to be used when you develop, for example, an Android application, a mobile application for the Android application system. So if you are going to implement a mobile application for Android, you should really try to use this family font. And it's very specific. So all headers will be the same font, the same sides, so H1, Roboto, 96 sides, letter spacing with that specific value, okay? So you know that when you encounter this kind of text, you know that it's probably a title, okay? And it's the same for all the other different categories. So if for the normal text, so for example, or let's look at the button caption, you should use that specific line. So let's analyze this figure. So it's a form to confirm, it's in Italian, sorry, but it's a form to confirm a payment of something, okay? So there is the name of the town, the name of the card holder with the details of the card, the total to be paid, and the two buttons, confirm and pay, the first one, and the button to, to go back, okay? Is it a good design in your opinion? What could go wrong? What are the pros and cons of the design? It's easy to read.
It's big enough.
It's big enough, okay? Yes?
That's something missing.
There is something missing? Why?
€3 missing, so maybe there is something,
Yeah, there is something hidden here probably because there are 3 euros missing, so that's for sure a problem. It's not related to the visual design, but it's definitely a problem. Let's focus on the design, keeping in mind that there is also this problem. Okay, you would like a red button for canceling, is that correct? Or a different color at least. Yes, this is one of the problems, okay? So the main button, confirm and pay, has a very similar color with respect to the cancel button. And this could create confusion. Maybe the user click on the wrong button because of the similar colors. Yes?
I think the name of the card holder that is too big.
The name of the card holder is too big, according to your colleague, and I agree. It's probably the bigger text in the image, but it's not the most important information, okay? Because I know my name. So why should I put too much emphasis on my name? Yes, that's a problem for sure. Any other opinion? There is inconsistency in the cancel. Yes, there is a bit of inconsistency here because here you have cancel, annulla, and here you have cancel the payment. So there is an inconsistency between the two labels, and also there is an inconsistency in colors because here cancel is in this sort of blue, and here for cancel there is a different blue. So there is an inconsistency also in the background color for the button, for the action. Okay? So I think there are a lot of problems. What information would you try to prioritize in this screen? And what should be deprioritized? The name is one of the things that should be deprioritized. What's the most important information here, in your opinion? Sorry? The total? The number of the card? I don't know. I mean, if it's correct, I have already inserted it, so let's look to an alternative. So this is the same pop-up redesigned with some design principles in mind. Now you can see that the name is deprioritized, of course. The total is the same, but now it's more visible because, again, the name has been deprioritized, and also these intermediate values, we are still missing 3 euros, but they are smaller than before, so the total catches our attention, right? Then the color is different now between the main action and the secondary action, and there is no more inconsistency about colors for cancel. So here, cancel has the same background color of this cancel, okay? There is still a bit of inconsistency related to the label, but I would say that it should be okay. Hmm?
Why there are two cancels?
That's a good question. Why using 2 cancels in the same screen? We could probably remove this. There is also the back button, so yes, I agree, we could probably remove this cancel, okay? So let's do an exercise, a similar exercise. I would propose you to redesign this screen. You can do it either by modifying the figure directly, you can do it in low fidelity, you can just write what you would change. And then I will ask you if you want to send your redesign on the Telegram group so that we can discuss a bit the results. Before starting, what's this website application about? No, it's not about booking.
Buy.
Buying an house. Okay, so it's a website for buying houses. Okay, so according to the principles, very broad principles that we have seen so far, let's try to redesign this. You can do it in group if you want, 10-15 minutes, and then we will discuss your solutions. And please try to send them on the Telegram group. Okay. Okay, so first of all, this is a possible solution. What were the problems of this design, if any, in your opinion? There is no hierarchy, that's true. There is no highlight of the important information. Everything seems on the same level, that's true. Any other possible problems? Okay, let's look at your solutions. Where is the... Okay, this is the first one. Who did this? Okay, can you explain your design considerations in doing this?
I think that when you're buying a house, maybe the price is the most important.
When you are buying the house, the price is probably the most important information. That's true.
So made it bigger and top. Then the type and the year of construction. I think
The type and the year of construction are also important information.
a little bit smaller, but
Mhm.
also at the top. Then city and address. If
Okay.
you want to know.
The others also, if you want to. Okay.
And then bedrooms and bathrooms, because I think that if you are seeing this house, maybe you have already filtered by
Okay.
what you need.
In terms of bedrooms and bathrooms, you have added something with respect to the. So why?
More visual to.
It's more visual. Okay.
And then a button to click and call.
And there is a button to click and call. I think that's reasonable. I have some concerns on the colors. So there is a dark green on a dark background, but we have still to see some details on the colors, so that's fine. Okay. Let's look at another possibility. Who did this? Yes. Can you explain to the class what are your design considerations here, and maybe what are the differences with respect to the previous solution?
There are not many differences.
I can see that there are some differences. Yes, price is in another place. It's still visible. It's more visible than in the original screenshot, so that's fine. Also for you, probably this is the most important information.
We also added the arrows on the photo.
Okay, you added the arrows on the photos to. Okay, it's more clear that you can swipe right and left to see more images. That's fine. You also used icons for bedrooms and bathrooms. That's fine.
The contact, we try to make just like one thing, because in the original there are two separate.
Yeah, there are two separate lines for the contact. In the original screenshot here you can see, indeed this is another difference with respect to their solution. You also used some lines to divide into subsections, and I think that's fine. You can divide the different kind of information on your screen, and I think it's a nice addition. Okay. Okay. Any other? Okay, there is another possibility here. Who did this? Okay, it's similar but different. Now the price is already on top, right? Any other differences or things to highlight on your proposal? You added the like button. Okay, this is a nice addition. Yeah, it was quite invisible in the original. Let me find the arrow. In the original screenshot, it was quite invisible here. So you made it more visible. Okay, and then again you divided the screen into, I would say, 3 different portions. Even if you didn't use any lines here, I think it's clear that these 3 elements are in a way linked together, also according to the Gestalt principles we have seen at the beginning of this lesson. Okay. Okay, so I also have a proposal here, which is this one. It's similar to one of the solutions that we have seen with 2 lines to divide the different portions of the screen. Of course, everyone agree that the price is the most important information, so it's clearly visible. You also correctly identified that it's always a good idea to put icons to describe the important information on a user interface. So here we combine icons and text, and this is important because it's more visible. If I don't know English, I can recognize anyway that this house has 3 bedrooms. Okay. And then what else? Yes, you can always try to present data in a more useful way. For example, instead of using the year of construction, you can simply say this house is 5 years old. It's probably more understandable and more immediate to understand this kind of characteristics. So you can always decide to use different ways to display the same information. Okay, any comments on this? Cool. We still have to see one topic for today, which is grids and alignment. So we have seen something about text mostly. Now we talk about grids and alignment, and we talk about grids because, again, typically especially in the web domain, the layout, the most common layout is the grid layout. Okay, so what is alignment? So alignment means those invisible lines that can be that run through the interface and attract elements to the left or to the right. And of course, you can align horizontally and vertically. And it's really important to have something that is aligned in the user interface, because we tend to prefer symmetry, as we have seen in the Gestalt principles. So even slight misalignments create confusion. Okay, we don't like misalignments in general. What is this? It's probably some settings for saving some documents, probably on Windows, right? Is there an alignment here? How many alignments can you spot on this pop-up, on this form? The left menu is aligned on the left, of course. Okay. Then we have alignment in the checkboxes, right here. These are all aligned, and secondary checkbox are aligned more on the right. Okay. Then there is alignment on the text boxes here and here. so both on the left and on the right. So there are a lot of invisible lines that aligns things in this interface. And alignment is something that needs to be very precise. So this is, for example, the documentation from the Visual Studio app. And these are precise guidelines on alignment to develop plugin for Visual Studio. So if you are going to develop a plugin for Visual Studio, you should really try to align your different elements in this way, pixels by pixel. And these guidelines do exist since decades. So these, for example, are guidelines to design Java application in 1999. Okay? So again, it's very precise, pixel level. And alignment, again, in the web domain means aligning elements on the interface, and the most common layout on the web is probably, it's for sure, grid layout. So for those of you that knows Bootstrap, you should know it because you probably attended the web application courses. You know that the Bootstrap layout system is a grid layout, right? And these are the ingredients of a grid layout. So we, of course, have columns and rows, but we also have margins, for example. So the area that surround the entire grid. We have, for example, gutters, which is the margin between the different columns, and so on and so forth. So again, here there is the margin, and here there is the gutters, right? So the margin between two different columns. And of course, you can use different frameworks to manage this kind of layouts. This is, for example, an example, again, from Material Design by Google. Oops. Yes. Here you have the columns in red, the gutters in blue, and the margin in green. And here is Bootstrap. You know how this grid layout works. You always have 12 columns in total, and you may choose to span a group of columns, and each column is tagged according to the size, the dimension of the screen. So you can also do something that is responsive, so that when you resize your interface, the grid layout dynamically changes. So you move from 4 columns, for example, to 3 when you reduce the size of the screen, and some content is put at the bottom of the screen. Okay? And these are other examples. And in general, you can find grids everywhere on the web, even on websites that seems to violate this layout. So here, for example, the text is aligned, and there are part of the website with 3 columns and part with 2 columns, but it's still a grid layout. And this is another example. And this is also another interesting example, still about alignment. This is the same page. This is a form to add an address on Amazon for adding a payment method. Okay, and this was the design in 2015, and this is the redesigned version of the same form that is active since 2019, okay? The design was not terrible. I mean, what problems can you identify here in the old version, in terms of alignment, of course?
The boxes are not the same.
Yeah, the boxes are not of the same size. Still, there is some alignment. So labels are aligned on the right, boxes here, input boxes are aligned on the left. So it can be improved, but it was not terrible. Why the page changed? what happened in 2015. What motivated this change? I mean, here you can see that this version is more horizontal in a way, because you have sort of two columns. Here is more vertical, right? Smartphones, exactly. So in 2015, there was this huge spread in the usage of smartphones, and this motivated the redesign of the same form in this way so that it can be used nicely both on the computer and on the smartphone. So this means that the target device, the device you will consider for your prototypes, will influence your layout for sure. So you should take into consideration the dimension of the screen, for example, and how the users are using that kind of device to choose the right alignment, the right layout for your application. So some best practices in terms of layout and alignment. So when designing a template, when designing something, start from the longest block of text and then align the rest. Left aligned text is usually faster to skim. And of course, alignment guides, like the one in red we have just seen in one of the examples, guides us to recognize this sort of alignment and reduces clutter. So avoid even slight misalignments, because we don't like them, according to the Gestalt principles. And slight deviations and slight misalignments are automatically detected by our brain, so we are really good at spotting errors in the alignment of things on a user interface. And to conclude this lecture, the last example, of course, from our friend, the Politecnico website, which is always a very good source of, I would say, terrible examples. This is the old version of the study plan for computer engineering in 2019. Okay, so you have probably never seen this. Anyway, is it well aligned? Does it follow the best practices and advice we have just seen? Which problems are you able to identify here in terms of alignment, of course?
It's well aligned, but it is, because it's very long, it is difficult to follow and find the appropriate. It is not in color.
It's really long, so it's difficult to follow even if there is some sort of alignment. Okay. It's probably difficult to follow because the background is always the same, so you can easily be confused between different rows, for example. There are some misalignments in general. For example, the icons here are not aligned at all. Then I don't know what the icons means, but this is another kind of problem. But they are definitely not aligned, okay? There is this, for example, space here that is empty. So there are some problems related to layout. And indeed, they changed the interface. And this is the current version, right? So this is the current study plan in the Politecnico website. Is it better? What are the main changes here?
You said the color are different.
The colors are different, so there is this sort of alternated background color for the different rows that helps in recognizing different rows. Icons are now aligned, right? For example, here, they are aligned. And also here, they are more or less aligned. there are still this sort of camera icons that I don't know the meaning, but that's another problem again. Okay, it seems better, but there is one very big problem here in terms of grid layout and how this table is displayed and visualized.
That hierarchy to show something bigger, like the first semester should be written in the bigger size.
Okay, we could definitely use different font sizes to differentiate between, for example, titles and normal content. There is a lot of free space here, that's correct. It's too stretched, but there is a more important, a more fundamental problem here. I don't know if you are able to see it. Look at the background colors. They used these alternated colors, and that's fine for in terms of readability.
The or maybe should be.
But this creates some confusion because, for example, here we have the or with white background, and here the or with the gray background. So I can give two different interpretations to this table. I could say that the first course here, Architetture dei sistemi di elaborazione, is in OR with computer architectures, and that's the correct interpretation. But I could also say that the first two courses are in OR with the third and the fourth one, okay? Who tells me that this is the wrong interpretation? No one. Sorry?
There should be some group.
Yeah, exactly, probably, okay? So there can be different ways of interpreting this kind of table, and this, of course, creates confusion. So yeah, it has been improved, but as usual, there is still some problems on our website, okay? Okay, so I think we can stop here for today. Next Monday we will continue with colors, and then we will start the evaluation part. Thank you for your attention, and have a good night, I would say.